So let's go. That is the official.
That is the official.
start.
Do you have like an intro song?
I gotta get one. Not yet.
How long have you been doing this podcast?
About 3 to 4 months.
3 to 4 months. Oh, okay, that's forgivable.
So it's fresh, right?
That's
I'm
forgivable.
on the borderline. I can't say I've done it for a year and I don't have an intro song though. So I need to get one soon.
And what's the name of the podcast again?
Spirit of a Nation.
Spirit of a Nation.
Yes, sir. Ooh, but before we start,
We are the spirit of a nation.
if I knew that song, I would be much happier right now.
You don't know the song? We are the youth of a nation. We are the youth of a nation.
Vaguely familiar? No name?
How old are you?
23.
20. Okay.
I feel like I've disappointed you. I'm a little sorry about that.
No. You didn't disappoint me. I wish I could give you my knowledge.
Slowly, I feel I'm
Are
absorbing
you calling
it.
my knowledge slow?
I think that's exactly what I'm saying.
Douche.
This is going to be a tussling podcast.
Okay.
Dude, first, I want you to tell just everybody watching, like, what you do, where they can find you, all that jazz. I don't want to save it for the end. I want to fucking put it right in the beginning.
Okay, so my name's Petey Ransell. I am a stand-up comedian. You can find me at acjokes.com. I'm a resident in Atlantic City. We do shows 7 days a week at the Tropicana. You can get your tickets at acjokes.com. If you really want to see me, you can drive down the Atlantic City Expressway and you can see a billboard with my naked chest along with the rest of the comedians of AC Jokes. We just put up a billboard on the expressway
Beautiful.
about a week ago.
This got to feel pretty badass.
What? I'm on a billboard, bitch.
I like the way you described it to my naked chest.
Yeah.
For the world to see.
Yeah. So we did the whole full Monty thing type. I don't know.
That part, that I do know. A movie, guys stripping,
Yeah.
get naked. Mm-hmm.
So
is
we
Monty
have-
Python related at all? No?
So we have we have a banner that stretches across the front of us, and it says acjokes.com, and then we're all like naked, but we're in shorts and underwear. If not, they would have to make the banner a little bit wider.
Like just a little bit.
down to about the knees. That's only because I slouch. I'm joking.
I don't get the slouch part, but
It's not that I have a big penis. It's because I slouch and I.
so
stand-
just dipping below the.
Yes.
Got you.
Swing and a miss. On to the next joke. Let's do it.
Understood. Fuck yeah, I like it. All right, man. What to fucking talk about with you? Goddamn, there's so many topics that we've talked about already.
Yeah. Hey, let's dive right back into it. So one of the things that we were talking about before was we had kind of hit on the vaccine as to why you got it, why you hadn't gotten it, or why would you have not gotten it. I'm fully vaxxed and boosted. I say that shit like it's a badge of honor or something. Yeah, like I'm not scared.
It's like, yeah, I'm bulletproof armor.
But you know what's
essentially.
funny is that the people that say, usually the people that don't get it are the ones that, I'm not scared of COVID. That's why I didn't get no damn vaccine. I'm not scared. And then, why didn't you get the vaccine? Because I don't trust it. So you're scared of
Oh
it?
yeah. Yes.
No, I'm not scared of nothing.
Well, that I don't agree. That I'm definitely scared of things. There are things worth fearing.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of fear I have for COVID, and there's a little bit of fear I have for the vaccine. It's just the vaccine fear is a little bigger.
Okay, so I'm going to give it to you like this. And this is my logic behind why I went and got the vaccine, no questions asked. Because, now I'm not saying that I was like an assassin for the government or anything like that, but I was in the military, and I also worked as a defense contractor in Iraq. I was in theater as a defense contractor for this country for X amount of time. I've seen how this country operates, and it doesn't tell its troops nothing when it says, I need you to take this town. Not why do I need you to take this town. Not the importance of the town. It's just do it. And when I look at the whole way they rolled out the vaccine, and I look at the whole the pandemic, and how it looked like a plandemic, there's two things that I know for sure. One is that I exist. And two is that I know nothing else. That is it. Everything else, I believe. And even with that, in order for you to believe something, there must be a core of doubt. Because if not, you would just know it. So, with that said, I believe that we have no idea what the fuck's going on with this pandemic. We have no idea what the fuck's going on with COVID. We have no idea what the actual truth is, because you can't trust the news, and you can't trust the government, and you can't trust yourself.
Why not? Are you saying they've lied or told not the truth at some point?
All right, shut the fuck up. So, if the government was going to kill off a bunch of civilians, do you think that it would go after the obedient, ready to follow orders? Do you think those are the ones that they're going to kill off, or do you think they're going to kill off the people that don't listen?
That's an interesting question, but the problem I have with that question is it's a jump to the belief that they're trying to kill people.
That's what I'm saying. That's the extreme. That's what I'm getting at. In that extreme scenario, do you believe that they would kill off the ones that went out and got it, or do you believe that they would kill off the ones that didn't get it?
Depends what their plan is. And I don't want to say that to just be annoyingly, I don't know what the word would be, but
non-biased, non-partisan,
something like that. I don't know what their plan, what a plan like that would be. Like, what's the end goal? Would you want people that are more independent thinking? So for some reason, there is this idea, right, that you would want sheep if you're going to be running a country, but I don't know what the people who have a say in those sorts of decisions want.
Okay, so when you think of how this country's been run, it's basically an indoctrination program from childhood, from birth. From birth, they don't allow, it was all but illegal for women to give natural birth at home for a long time in this country. Like, if you tried to give birth at home, you were looked at like you were a fucking lunatic, you're the weirdo, you're a hippie. And so they made people give birth at a specific location in a manner that's not natural. And then the first thing that they would do is take the baby away from the mother and put it in an incubator. When if you look at science and you look at what the facts and the statistics say, is that people that grow up to be more emotionally stable are people that were birthed naturally and that had a lot of skin-to-skin contact with the mother upon birth. It's actually has a long-lasting calming effect on the child. It makes that child feel more happy and more connection.
What studies are these?
The most recent one that I can tell you is watch Babies on Netflix, but there's also a book called The Red Queen, which it explains the entire psychology of sex. Not the act of it, not the gender role, but the entirety of sex. It talks about sex in the animal world. It talks about sex in the human world. It talks about the birth process. It talks about nature versus nurture. And it talks about how skin-to-skin contact for a baby is a calming factor. And when you're first born, your brain is firing off because it's in this new world. So all these neural pathways are building. And you're creating these new highways for information. So if the first information that you're getting is soothing, what are you going to be? more geared towards having a soothed personality.
Interesting. I would have to look more into that to speak on that matter more specifically. But I've definitely heard that babies with more, like throughout babyhood.
Infancy.
Babyhood. But yes, infancy.
They cut off the baby's hood.
On the circumcision.
which is wrong. You shouldn't do it. It's unnatural.
Dude, but I've definitely heard sites, I can't remember the specificities, where they just having contact with the baby, like to leave it all alone in its crib all the time to
It's
just watch.
not
That's
good.
that's no. But the birth part specifically, that I haven't heard, which is interesting. What would you say to the argument that we should make sure the majority of babies are born in hospitals because the death rate is higher if it's a natural birth without medical supervision?
What I say to that is that our education system has failed us, and if every single woman in this world that is willing to give birth was given proper education on how to give birth, then any woman would be able to be a midwife. Any woman would have professional training, because that's how it was back in the day in the tribes.
But the death rate was also really high with babies.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
of the mom giving birth.
Yes, it was. It was super high because we didn't have the technology and the information and the education. But how many doctors fuck up on a regular basis because they have no emotional attachment to that mother or child? Now imagine if you had your family, your core of people that actually got the education on how to give birth. Because that process is really not that hard. You know how it's not? You know how I know it's not that hard? Billions of animals do it in the wild all the fucking time.
But that gets weird, man. Like, for example, a deer or a dog, they can be up and running within like a few weeks to a few months after being born. But human babies take much longer to be independent.
Yeah.
So there are some strong
Yeah.
differences between
Yeah.
us and the majority of other animals.
Kangaroos, joeys, are very, very dependent of their mothers when they're first born. And their mothers carry them in a pouch. But the thing is, we can swaddle our babies. We can carry our babies. We can pick our babies up. Just because our babies are not self-sufficient doesn't mean that we can't be sufficient with them on us. So it's not about give birth to a baby and it can get up and walk on its own. No, you're going to have to take care of that baby. But we have made ourselves so dependent on these infrastructures that I believe that if we became more independent in ourselves, we would be able to do this shit ourselves. I don't think that we need to have a hospital. We should have maybe a clinic that is a birthing clinic, but you should have your team of people around you, your family members that are the ones helping you deliver that child. Because who wants to be in a room full of fucking strangers when they're that vulnerable? She's up in stirrups with her fucking legs wide open for the world to see. And nobody in that room is anyone she knows familiarly. Like, no familiarity. You know why women give birth in stirrups?
So the doctor has easier access?
It's easier for the male doctor giving the treatment. You know what's the most natural way for a woman to give birth? On all fours. On all fours. Like what? Like a deer, like a horse. We're animals, bro. We're fucking animals. We're literally just animals. If we took care of ourselves, we would be more self-sufficient. And that would make much less waste. We talk about how we need to be less wasteful. You know how wasteful hospitals are? Think about that shit. All that re-sterilizing and repackaging of shit that needs to be. Imagine if you had your own shit at the house.
Do you mean for low-level injuries, like, I don't know,
How
I
hard
sprained
is it-
my shoulder or...
How hard is it to give sutures? It's not. It's really not. It's really not. People were giving each other stitches for fucking eons. The scars looked horrendous. Yeah, and people were getting gangrene and infection and they were dying from them. But we have the technology to do it correctly now.
So what would you think? Ooh, this leads to an interesting
So,
topic.
wait, real quick. They give Marines suture kits in combat. They give kids suture kits and they expect them to be able to perform these sutures. And I'm not saying that everybody gets them, but this is something that, like, they don't really give them out, because when I was there, I didn't get one, but they had them in Vietnam. They want each other to suture each other in combat. But we went away from that because we don't want people to be self-sufficient anymore. We want them dependent on the hospitals. Because what happens if the grid goes out? What happens? All those baby birth rates, death rates, all that shit is gonna fucking skyrocket. Because we're going away from being self-sufficient.
Self-sufficiency,
That's the key to life.
education. What do you think are some classes that we should have in school? Like, kids need to be taught X, Y, Z, or people in general need to be taught X, Y, Z.
Empathy. That's empathy.
Real quick, when you say empathy, you know what? Continue. I'll go back to that.
Okay. Empathy. How to spot and treat mental health illnesses.
Psychological first aid.
Yes. Psychological first aid. We should fucking definitely be teaching first aid. First fucking aid.
Yeah.
Hygiene. They should be teaching kids hygiene, because you know what? Not every parent understands hygiene. You know how old I was my first fucking toothbrush I got? All right, let me put it like this. The first toothbrush I ever got, I was like 7 or 8 years old. I got it in a kid's meal. I didn't know what to do with it. I just chewed it until the bristles went fucking limp.
You seem to have all your teeth.
I have good genetics.
What did you eat when you were a kid?
Whatever I can get my fucking hands on, because my parents were coke addicts that didn't really provide for us very well.
Gotcha.
I ate a lot of beanie weenies and Ritz.
Yeah, because I was going to say something about maybe your diet somehow kept your teeth from getting cavities, because I've heard that that's possible, but I guess it's not the beanie. Unless beanies and Ritz, they're enamel providers.
No. I mean, I did. All right, so we had an almond tree, a Spanish almond tree, across the street. And because I was a kid, I couldn't really get my hand on money. So, I mean, I used to steal my mom's fucking food stamp notes to go to the convenience store. But fucking a lot of times I'd get 2 bricks and I'd just be busting open almonds. And that's what I would eat. I'd eat that shit fucking day in and day out.
That's a good almond tree right there.
Yeah.
Decent source of fucking food, or just protein, other probably nutrients.
Shit like that. If it was a school day, I'd get school lunch, and then I'd get dinner at home, like at night. My mom only made dinner.
Gotcha.
My mom did not make lunch, and breakfast was only some shit I saw white people do on TV.
Did your mom from time to time make really nice Cuban meals?
Oh yeah, she can throw down. She could throw down, but only for dinner.
Gotcha.
Breakfast was a myth.
You might have been better off for not having that habit in the long run. Intermittent fasting reasons. But fucking going back for a second, when you say empathy, do you think of empathy as being able to feel others' emotions? Because I think of compassion as I'm able to help heal your emotion. The analogy I heard was you see someone under boulder, empathy is going under the boulder with them. I feel your pain. Compassion is removing the boulder. So what do you mean when you say empathy? And also why? Why should they be taught empathy?
Because I believe that empathy isn't going under the boulder with them. Empathy is looking at them and imagining the pain of that boulder, and then using that as a motivator to rectify your interaction with them. Because even though they're under that boulder, and you can picture yourself under that boulder and imagine how much it would hurt for them to be under. Because when you have empathy for someone, when people say, "I have empathy for you," I can put myself in your position. No. Empathy is not putting yourself in that. No, true empathy is feeling what they are feeling in that position. Because your past experiences are going to make your chemicals react differently to that experience than they will. So when I say empathy, it's not to put yourself under the boulder, because then that's you under the boulder. No, it's imagine what they feel like with that boulder and their experiences.
Use it as fuel.
Use it as fuel. My wife is currently in Sweden working on her bachelor's degree. She's doing her thesis. She should be finished with her thesis in like a couple of weeks. So she should be getting her bachelor's degree. Big shout out to my wife. Congratulations, baby. But her thesis is on basically whether or not people can truly empathize, and how well people empathize versus how well they believe they empathize. And her dissertation has basically led to one major significant conclusion, which is that let me see if I can get this right, because we did just smoke. So, her findings have been conclusive that people that have taken psychology as an education have ultimately better empathetic capacities. They really do read people's emotions better. They really understand people psychologically because they really do empathize with them. So what do I believe is one of the core classes? We need to teach psychology in school. We need to. And meditation.
Yeah. Oh, fuck yeah, dude. Okay, get into the why of that, because I definitely agree. What's form of meditation?
Basically any form of meditation that works for you, because no one can tell you how to meditate for you. So you're asking me, are breathing meditation or silence meditation or mindfulness meditation or even
when people like walk you through a trance or imagine
guided meditation. I believe that all those are great forms of meditation. I also believe that exercise is a phenomenal form.
Yeah, we didn't take
meditation.
gym very seriously. I mean, kids enjoyed it as fun, and that's good, I suppose.
Yeah, but that's what recess is supposed to be for. And that's what breaks are supposed to be for. And the education system was not designed to be to optimize the output of students. Because if you look at entrepreneurs, like most successful entrepreneurs did really, really, really well in being able to accomplish their tasks, but they didn't do very well in following the structure, following the system. Therefore, they weren't those breakout students. They were the students that did well enough, but they got by thinking outside the box. Now, if you look at who the CEOs and the very corporate minded people. Those are the people that got their straight A's and they were on the honor roll and dean's list and all that shit. Because those are people that can follow the system.
So you're talking about creators of a system.
Exactly. So if you have the people that are not, I'm kind of talking in circles here. So
No, you're good.
Let me back up. The education system here, and I'm sure you've heard this, it's designed to make factory workers, right?
Yes, I've heard that.
It doesn't cater to rewarding the effort. It gives you a reward for the outcome. But if you look at like elitists schools and how super elitists treat their children, they don't congratulate them for winning. They congratulate them for the hard work and effort that they put into getting there. The outcome is not the focal point. It's the effort that gets you there. So, with that said, our education system is not designed to focus on building strong workers. It's designed to build obedient workers. So, what do I think that we need to teach in class, in school? Everything that we're not teaching.
So we got psychology first aid, actual first aid, some practical stuff. What would you say to self-defense? Or maybe a basic sort of Cub Scout survival skill.
All right. Nature survival, yes. Do we need to do some sort of, should we do, I don't think we should market it as self-defense. I think that we should teach combat sports and teach it as combat sports. Because when you teach it as self-defense, then it implants the mind that you need to defend yourself from someone. But if it's combat sports, it's I'm just going to be the most confident combatant that I can be.
Are you saying that more so that it would be sold more easily, or so?
No. I don't care about selling it. Fuck selling it. I'm talking about what is optimized for the human experience. What is going to build the most confidence? Confidence is key.
Confidence in what?
Confidence in you. Confidence in your ability. Confidence in your why. It doesn't matter. Confidence in anything. If you could be stupid, wrong, and ass backwards, but as long as you're confident about it, somebody's gonna buy your bullshit.
Is that necessarily a good thing?
No, it's not. But it is an effective way of looking at it. So if you understand that confidence is key in being able to succeed, then why would you want to minimize the confidence? Now, once that confidence has gone beyond confidence and into arrogance or cockiness, then there's a problem, because that person is no longer confident. That person is projecting because they feel small. So it's real confidence. It's true confidence. It's not about what is going to be more palatable. Because if we're all confident, because ultimately, in order for you to be confident, you have to feel secure. You cannot feel confident without having security. If you feel any form of insecurity, you feel lack of control. If you don't have control, then you can't be confident because you don't know the outcome.
How many people have you seen in your life that lack these sorts of skills?
Many. I was one of them for many, many years.
Ditto. It's weird because in hindsight, it seems like such an obvious master tool. Being able, like, going back to psychological first aid, literal first aid, these practical things, or combat sports, the practical application in daily life, like in many different realms, knowing yourself as a human, knowing your nature, other people's nature. That seems like such a basic, like obviously we should be teaching that. So yeah, I guess it does go back. I would assume it largely goes back to this industrial mindset where we want to get out a lot of production factory line workers. And now we're having this new sort of system where those jobs are kind of going away. And so what sort of people do we want to make now? Where should our focus be and what sort of citizens we want?
We should make artists. Because every single profession, if you look at who is at the head, absolute top of that profession, they're veered as artists of their craft.
Define artist.
Someone who can take a discipline of any sort and apply it anyone who masters any discipline, that's an artist to me. Because you have martial arts, you have liberal arts. What's the only thing they don't have arts of?
Maybe physics, but that gets weird because I've definitely heard physicists describe it being an art at times. They're much of a feeling process more than a technical process. Maybe financing, but goddamn, when I really think about it,
They're con artists.
an art, to be a master of something. I feel like art has a lot to do with emotion too, like emotional intelligence. Intuition.
You can't do anything. You can't do anything passionately without doing it emotionally, and you can't do anything great without doing it passionately.
What would you say when you say that? There's a part of me that agrees, but then there's another part that throws up these objections of UFC fighter Yoel Romero when he described his training in Cuba. It was fighting for meals. And he became just a machine. It wasn't something done necessarily out of love. It was something done much more survival. And we described it was this: I'm just going through the motions with a very fine tune.
You know, what's more passionate than trying to survive?
To be a machine. But just the way he described it, and maybe I'm interpreting it wrong, but when I imagine machine, I imagine this sort of emotionally neutral, like I just do what I have to.
Exactly.
But yeah, that's a good point, because he did have to eat, and I'm sure you'll care a lot. You'll feel strongly about it when you're not fucking eating.
Oh, yeah. Dog, hunger is the mother of ambition.
That's a good quote. Dude, I almost got my ass whooped a little while ago, and before then I was training some self-defense, and I took it much more relaxed. But now that I have this fear implanted in me, I am much more driven to train consistently and harder. And before I was kind of hesitating to use fear or anger and things like that as drivers. I'm like, no, those are bad emotions.
Okay.
That'll hurt me with stress.
You know Riddick Bowe? He was the first guy to knock out Mike Tyson.
Oh, okay.
They asked him about his boxing and why he boxed. The only reason he boxed was because his father wanted him to box. And is it Riddick Bowe or is it Buster Douglas?
Buster Douglas sounds familiar, but anyway.
One of those two. I know that Riddick Bowe ended up joining the Marine Corps, but he didn't make it through boot camp.
Really?
Yeah.
He'd be professional, but why? Do you remember?
Yeah, he couldn't take it. He couldn't take
like
it.
Mentally?
Yeah, the drill instructors those drill instructors, bro. When you
say drone strikes?
Drill instructors.
Oh, okay.
Drone strikes.
Yeah, I didn't hear.
I'm a mumble rapper now.
I guess. That probably sounds great on the mics.
That's that Florida draw on that ass. But no, the drill instructors, they really fuck with you. And when you're a boxer and you have that, your profession was to beat a motherfucker's ass, and then dudes are just straight disrespecting you, Like if you're standing at attention and your hands roll, not even move forward, but if your knuckles just roll off the side of your seam, you'll have a drill instructor come running across the fucking squad bay and do a flying Superman punch to your fist. And I don't know if you've ever been punched in the fist, like on the back of the hand. Dog, that shit hurts. And then you can't even do nothing to this motherfucker.
There's something so cool about that to me. It's hard to put my finger on.
Okay, I'll put a finger on you, motherfucker. Put you in boot camp. And that's the thing, dog. They run your dick into the dirt and then expect you to pick it up and keep moving. So back to what happened with Riddick Bowe. Riddick Bowe was a boxer because his father wanted him to be a boxer. And he basically hated getting hit. He hated getting hit. That was his worst fear.
So like Mayweather versus Tyson sort of style matchup. Anyway.
But the thing is that he knew that he had to box. That's all he knew. He was supposed to be a boxer. And when he lost a fight to, I don't know who it was. I watch so many fucking documentaries and shit that I mash up stories, and the brain has a tendency to mix memories and make shit up. But
I'm sure we'll get the essence.
Ultimately, the dude never had any desire to box. And then his dad was like, "You're gonna be a boxer," because he was Jamaican, and you're gonna be a bomba clad boxer boy. And when he lost a fight to somebody who everybody expected him to win because he had fucking beat Mike Tyson. Apparently his father, when he saw that happen, he was like, "I wish they'd kill him on the ring." He was like, he wished that they should have killed him. He said the referee should have let him beat him to death because he lost a fight. After he beat Mike Tyson, he lost to somebody else, and his father wanted him dead for losing. What more passion than that?
Now you have me thinking about the devil of passion, the Michael Jackson father equivalent.
Exactly. It's not a... Remember that when you do things because you love them, you are going to be much more proficient than if you do them out of fear. So look at John Jones. Rampage Jackson. Kimbo Slice. What do they all have in common other than being black?
Heavy fucking hitters.
Heavy fucking hitters. They loved being in that ring. They love being in that ring.
I think you can love it and still feel fear and still...
Yeah, that is, you know who that is? That's Floyd Mayweather.
I've heard Tyson say the same thing.
That's Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson, definitely. Mike Tyson was petrified. Petrified.
Oh, dude, Customato has a great quote. Something along the lines of, the hero and the coward feel the same thing. They just do something different once they feel it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Bro, you have no idea how petrified I am on a regular basis. My father literally beat the confidence out of me. And anything that was left, my brothers made sure to wash that shit the fuck out. I'm the youngest of 3 boys, and I was not raised by any sort of a stable income or a stable family. My brother used to hit me just to make me cry. And then when I would cry, my dad would hit me for crying. So, bro, like, when I was like 5 or 6 years old, my brother Jay, who always had mental, like, he's schizophrenic paranoid now, and he was always a little off. Because I was always naturally athletic. And my dad was super like, you're going to be athletes, you're going to be athletes. So whenever
Saw the Latin fire for a second.
Yeah. So when Jay saw that I was getting pretty good at baseball, he hated it. So he was like, Petey, out of straight, just mada. I don't even know how to say it in English.
Like envy?
Not even, partially out of envy, but just out of sheer just not goodness. Just out of sheer basically malice, pure malice. Thank you. That's the word. That's the exact word I was looking for. Out of pure malice, he says, Petey, let's go out and play catch. I go, okay, let's go. I'm there. I don't even have time to put my glove on. And he just wails a baseball at me. Hits me square in the nose. I start gushing from my face. I'm like 5 or 6. At this point, I am now petrified of the ball. Petrified. So my dad's like, oh, you know how we're going to fix this? We're going to make you the catcher. The guy who gets the ball thrown at him. Bro, I'm there. I'm fucking behind the plate. The pitcher throws the ball. I jump out of the way. And the kid who's on third comes running home.
It's like, oh, what'd you do?
Bro, they whooped us that game. Because I was so scared of the ball. They'd throw the ball, I'd get out of the way, and then go run to get it. And so the next day, my dad takes me, puts me in full catcher's gear, ties my hands behind my back, makes me squat, ties my hands to my feet. So I'm in a reverse hog tie. And I'm basically tied into a catcher's position. And my dad starts pelting me with baseballs. Just, does this hurt? Wagada. Does this hurt? Wagada.
Yep.
I'm there fucking crying. Not even because of the pain anymore. Just because of the fear that this is a person that's supposed to protect me. Like, this is a person who's supposed to be my protector in life. And they are more concerned with my ability to stand in front of a baseball than they are for my mental health. Now, his intentions and the outcome, everybody always talks about their intentions. What were my intentions? But I didn't mean to hurt you. I didn't mean to. That doesn't matter. That goes right out the window. Because whenever you have a conversation with someone, you have to have 2 conversations going at the same time. What you understand you're trying to convey and what you understand them to be able to receive. Because if you want to articulate to someone, you have to articulate to them. You never articulate from you. Words are nothing more than tools. And you know how, all right, you know the jackass Ben Shapiro? How I speak correctly. If you get offended by what I'm saying, you're just stupid and you don't understand what I'm saying. Look, you fucking idiot. Words are subject to change. definitions are subject to change, because the only thing that makes a definition is that we all agree upon its definition. Outside of that, it's just a fucking sound that we make. So if you want to convey a feeling that you have, the only thing you have is the tools presented to you, which are audio, visual, taste, smell, and touch. Those are the only. So if you really want to convey to somebody that they pissed you off, you can tell them.
You could taste them.
You could bite the shit out of them. Mm-hmm. You could slap the fuck out of them. But you're using the tools that you have. Now, we are supposed to be more evolved, right? So the tools that we use now are language. Now, you have this guy, Ben Shapiro, that's like, I am saying exactly what I need to say. If you don't get it, it's because you're not intelligent enough. No, it's that you're not intelligent enough to convey how you actually feel. And if you're conveying this in a manner that doesn't convince people, there's a reason. I know that I can't convince everybody that to believe the way that I believe, because I know that I don't have all the answers. That's the only reason, because if not, I would be able to be confident enough to give you all the answers. And if I was that confident, I'd be the fucking president. I'm confident enough to be a stand-up comedian.
That's pretty confident. Mm-hmm.
But I built that confidence. So if I can build that confidence after it was taken away from me, then there's two ways that you can look at it. Either one, I had it in my nature, and my nature, and my nurture tried to nurture it out of me, but my nature overcame it and was able to discover it again anyways. Or confidence is interchangeable. You can gain it, lose it, learn it, unlearn it. It's not only tangible, it's also perishable. Because let's say that you're a confident dude. You have fucking money pouring out of your ass. You have lovers lined up around the corner of all genders, and you don't even like them all. You have the most powerful men in the world coming to you for advice. That would make you feel pretty confident, right? And then you sneeze, you have an aneurysm, and you lose part of your ability to use your prefrontal cortex. You start developing speech pattern issues. The first thing that goes is the lovers. Because nobody wants, because if they don't love you, they're just lovers.
Gotcha.
They're not a loved one. Next is the business people. Because if you're stuttering and you're not making sense and you're just speaking gibberish,
can't do business with you.
Can't do business with you. Now you have all this money, you're fucking miserable. So what do? You buy a bullet, you buy a gun, and you check the fuck out. Because that's what happens with really, really powerful men when they lose all their power. Look what happened when Wall Street fucking crashed. The Great Depression. There has never, ever, ever, ever in the history of history ever been a job with a higher suicide rate than a stock market broker in 1933. That was the highest suicide of any profession in the history of time. Was that brief moment in time. People were killing themselves because they weren't able to go on vacation. People were killing themselves because they weren't able to buy nice shoes.
Interesting. I wonder whether more people that were leaning towards being poor when Great Depression
when
happened.
the Great Depression hit, poor people were already poor. They already knew how to survive. That's why, all right, when Alexander Hamilton, was it was it Hamilton or Jackson? The guy who's the grandfather, the grandfather of fucking American economics.
I think Hamilton.
Hamilton, yes. When he designed the first outline of how the economy should work, he designed it as to be a rolling economy, which means that every few years it has to fail. That way the rich people get knocked back down and the commoners have the ability to rise. It's supposed to do that.
Now, do you mean fail like this family won't hold large amounts of wealth for several generations? Because I think after like 2 or 3 generations, even a family that's very wealthy, on average, comes back to either like middle income or goes back to the poor levels. So do you mean that's supposed to happen, or that literal market fails where like everybody's supposed to lose a whole bunch of money happens every now and then? That was weirdly worded. I hope you understood that.
I think that it was geared more towards the majority of the market. More of not just the rich. Because the rich aren't really part of this economy. They're really not. The wealthy, the super wealthy, they're really not part of this economy. Because if you follow the lineage of actual like long money, it doesn't last for 3-4 generations. The real powerful families have been in power for at least 200-300 years.
Like which families?
Okay.
You just get sniped.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So when you think of basically Queen Elizabeth and the English royal family, they are basically the largest. They're basically the largest welfare case in the history of the world, right? They're basically an entire family that lives in lavishry and lives in money, but none of them actually work. The queen doesn't have a job. Her job is to be the queen, but she doesn't have any power. She doesn't write any legislation. She cannot break or make any rules. I mean, in the public eye. But in all actuality, she's been beyond wealthy her whole life. Look at the Bush family. The Bush family has ties that go back to the first 13 colonies. And they've been wealthy since. I mean, I don't know if, I think that there's too many conspiracy theories out there that they just over-flooded the information, but, I mean...
If that's true, I'm just wondering what they did to make and keep money. Because I know a lot of rich people still invest. It's not like they hold it under their house, at least from from my understanding.
It's not about holding it in their house or invest. Money isn't real. Money is not real. Resources are real. And what is the number one resource on this planet right now? A working human being. A working human being is the number one resource on this planet right now. Because a working human being can literally move mountains. We do it all the time. We're ripping down mountains and making rock quarries to get to mine iron or whatever the fuck we're mining out of, whatever minerals we're getting out of the earth. But it's horsepower. I'm sorry, guys. We're doing a podcast right now.
Hello.
To that door. Go ahead. All right, sorry. So if you look at what a dollar does, all a dollar does is get somebody motivated enough to get up off their couch and do what you need them to do. That's all a dollar is. It's literally just a stuffed coupon. You remember Wolf of Wall Street?
Yeah.
These are just fun tokens. And he's throwing $100 bills. Money doesn't exist to rich people.
Money. So what did that have to do with the Bush family? How they kept money?
They haven't kept money. They've kept power. Power can be used as money.
Where do you think power is localized in America? Well, you know what? Let's start with America and maybe the world after. What do you think has the most power in America?
That's a difficult answer. A difficult question to answer because there is used power, there's displayed power, and then there's potential of power. So, who has the displayed power in the United States right now? Rich white men. Rich white men have the displayed power. Who has the true power? The corporations in this country. Now, there are corporations that are ran by Chinese companies and Saudi Arabian companies. So it's not rich white men, it's just rich men and some very, very few women. And what is the absolute truth? Like who has a true power? The people. The people are always going to be the most powerful entity of any organization.
Why do you think that is?
Because you can't do anything without the people. Nothing operates without the people. If you want the president to fly in a helicopter from Washington, D.C. to Camp George, he's not a pilot. He doesn't know how to fuel that motherfucker. He didn't go get the fossil fuel to turn it into fuel, to bring it to the fuel station, to be able to put it in the helicopter in the first place.
Dude, it gets so weird. The things you're describing that give the people the power, the ability to make food, to farm, to transport it, to create the gas that can transport, et cetera, et cetera. It seems like so much of that is it's possible that it'll be automated within the next few decades. Like automatic pilots, automatic mining systems, automatic transportation of the fuel and transferring it. Yeah. So it makes me wonder, once all that sort of thing is automated, where do you think the power would lie then? Do you think it would still be, the most potential power would be in the masses?
Well, it depends, because if we... Have you ever ran a business?
Yes, I started with this only for a few months.
Okay. And have you ever tried to outsource shit to people?
No, not yet.
Not yet. You've done everything yourself.
Yes.
So,
I got some advice about video editing. Essentially, yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. When you do things yourself, you're ensuring your quality. When you outsource things. All right, hold on. Okay, so if we are the ones in power and we are the ones that are trying to navigate and be the ones in control of this planet, we're the ones in control of our existence. But we have the ability to develop technology that can take over basically the day-to-day labor. If we completely give up that control to those machines, ultimately, it's going to backfire. It's going to backfire. Like, it's not going to be like the Terminator or like the Matrix, but ultimately, we're going to be so dependent on these machines that if anything does happen to the grid, we as a species are fucked.
Do you think that some equivalent of that exists now?
Yes.
Like, I'm not saying as far as a grid, but that there's always a potential for a disaster to come and be the biblical flood, so to speak. Like, every generation has their own.
Yeah.
And that at the moment, maybe it would be, I don't know, a nuclear war or an asteroid hitting or...
A real pandemic?
Yes. Yeah, something with like black flu level or Native American, bro, side tangent. I just want to throw this in there, see if something pops up out of it. Have you ever learned about how many Native Americans died just from disease when Europeans came here? Only over the last few years, I've learned that the vast majority of Native Americans that died from diseases that we brought.
Yep.
Yeah, it wasn't
Who's
from
we?
like...
We.
Europeans.
Look at you.
I'm Puerto Rican and Slovak, so I got some European. And Puerto Ricans are just Spaniards, essentially. Well, at least the kind that I came from.
No, because I look at you and you are a little bit darker than those Spaniards.
Oh, maybe there's some natives mixed in there.
There's some kind of Taino or something in there.
So when I say we, just Europeans in general. Mm-hmm. Yeah, dude, you killed like 9/10 of the Native American population. That's fucking crazy. That's more than the black plague. Like, if COVID was
90%.
that, if COVID
90%.
that's what would the world even...
And think about this though. Think about this. A lot of those diseases were given on purpose.
Now that I've heard opposing. I've heard both arguments with that. I heard a lot of it was just accidental, and then every now and then someone might try to do it for a war reason, like I give you blankets. I've heard. Have you heard the blankets with smallpox story?
Yes.
I've heard that, but then I've heard it debunked.
You've heard it debunked?
Mm-hmm. You ever hear Dan Carlin? Hardcore history, dude. If you want to listen to a great history podcast, I highly recommend him. Like, he's the fucking wave when it comes to that. But yeah, on one of his podcasts talking about that sort of topic, a memory, it's kind of vague, of him essentially saying that there isn't any very solidly recorded story of people purposely giving smallpox blankets. Then he honed in on the story where it came from. But if they gave them blankets with smallpox, it wasn't on purpose. It was just some trading between Europeans and the Native Americans. But I could. That being said, I could imagine people doing it on purpose. Like, you recognize you have this nuclear bomb just within your own body and within all your people's body, and you kind of want to get rid of this species of people real quick. That's some wild shit people used to do, man. Now I feel like okay. Quick tangent, but I feel like I'm talking too much at the moment.
You're not.
All right, cool. There was a spice trade going on. Europeans found this brand new route to this super important resource so they could finally have straight access to it. And one of the countries, Portugal, was trying to gain a monopoly over the trade route, but they had too much competition. Chinese, French, English, there were too many people that were just so good at transporting it. So essentially, they just went to the main island and just killed like 95% of the people there and just kept a few alive so they could teach them how to continue making these products. And they just took over the island so they could have a monopoly over it. That's fucking wild that people even have that potential within us.
But we're animals.
Yeah.
And we're carnivorous animals. Look at the true value of life. what is the most valuable thing about life?
That other people care about it? That you care about it?
No.
Hmm.
Experience. Experience is the true most valuable thing in life. Because when you don't, people are always like, oh, I want to live a long life. I want to live a long life. You want to live 123 years as a vegetable?
Ah, that's the question, right? As a vegetable. Quality over quantity when it comes to someone's life. People
Yeah.
usually choose quality, at least when you ask them.
Yeah. I could literally, this chandelier could fucking just spark and take me out right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be perfectly content.
Dude, why do you think you didn't become more of a tragedy, a tragic story from your upbringing? Like, you seem like you're doing well. You seem like you're actually...
Oh yeah, but I go through my ups and downs, bro. I will. Just the other night, I was hosting a show and the audience wasn't really responding, so I started giving a lot of energy, trying to get them to get amped up. It just comes off as being aggressive because I have aggressive tendencies. I have microaggression. I don't like that about myself. I hate that about myself. The next fucking comedian that comes up, when I bring him up, well, he was mean. Damn, he was so. You guys can calm down. I am not going to be nearly as mean as he was.
With just like a lot of crowd work?
I tried, but it didn't come off as very friendly. It just came off as angry and disgruntled. So he says that shit rips me apart inside. Because what does it make me feel? You're the monster that your father was. You're the monster that everybody thinks you were because you fucking of the shit that you had to do in combat. Or that you didn't do in combat, or the shit that you experienced or you didn't experience, or whatever. Because my combat experience wasn't nearly that. Like, I tell people I was in combat and they're like, you must have killed 3,000. No. Like, I don't know if, nope, I'm not going to go there. But, I have this feeling of fear that I don't want to be a monster. I don't want to feel that feeling. I already feel that feeling enough. Like when I'm just sitting by myself and I or when I get cut off in traffic and I want to kill somebody because. So when he said that shit really irked me inside. To the point where I'm fucking slapping myself in the face. I'm having a meltdown. I'm slapping myself in the face. Because it hurts less to slap myself than it does to feel like a monster.
Damn. That's deep.
So it's basically, it boils down to I'm not more fucked up because I'm me. Because my cards fell the way that they fell. My biology is my biology. I believe that I am. All right, so because I really want to get, because you seem like you really process and understand what people say. So I enjoy talking to you, bro.
I'm happy to hear that.
When you know the mirror test that they do for animals to determine intelligence?
No.
So they put a mirror in front of animals to see whether or not they can self-identify.
Gotcha.
And animals that can self-identify, some dogs, I think all elephants, all dolphins, most primates, or most apes primates in the ape family. I don't think monkeys, but most chimpanzees, babonos, gorillas, they can actually self-identify.
Weird.
But no, it's not weird. It's just that they are self-aware.
I'm wondering what makes the difference between something that can look in the mirror and understand that, like, that's me. I heard a neuroscientist say the other day, it amazes him how we don't wake up every morning and forget, like, whose body we're in, like, that we remember who we are throughout our life, and actually, it's weird. It's like, what makes that? But anyway.
Well, yeah, I have a different perspective on that as well. I don't think that you are who you are. You're not your body. You are not your body. You are not your mind.
How do you define soul or spirit?
Soul on the bottom of my feet. Energy. Energy. I do believe that we are all in one way, shape, or form connected, because I believe that any form of energy can store information.
So like a fire or lightning?
I believe so, yeah.
Store information.
Because it has to know how to behave.
Wait, okay. I feel like this is an interesting tangent to go down, but we were on something cool a second ago, and I kind of took us off that real quick. To go back to it for a second, you were talking about self-consciousness, animals recognizing.
Yeah. Okay, so they believed for a very long time that infants were not able to self-identify. That we didn't start self-identifying till about 18 months. Which, that kind of makes sense, because that's when a baby goes from being an infant to a toddler.
You can't play that game with them anymore.
Yeah, or even if you do, they understand that it's your hands, and they'll play it back with you. So, but according to that documentary, Babies, which is on Netflix, which I highly recommend, it's really cool. It talks about how babies can actually tell their own reflection from as early as 4 months. As early as 4 months.
God damn.
So that means that your personality is actually formulating from as early as 4 months. So what do I think makes me not be more of a fucking woe was me case? The fact that I just didn't stop.
Do you think that was more from like nature or nurture? Like the way you said earlier, just the cards you were dealt. Do you think it's just literally the way you're built?
I think it's a combination of both. It's a combination of both. My sheer will to
keep going.
Was not always there. Because for a long time I was just scared and just going through the motions. I kept going just because I was scared to stop.
Do you mean the motions of life?
Yeah. I was just scared to stop. Because the bottom is a fucking crazy place. And I know you know.
A little bit.
The bottom is a crazy place. But once you get there, you realize that that's just made out of rubber.
You say made out of rubber?
Yeah.
Boing.
You bounce back the fuck up.
Oh, what good would you say came out of the pain and suffering of your childhood? Or just I'll say your childhood for now.
It gave me understanding of experience. It let me know that pain is a temporary constant. You're constantly going to be in pain, but you're not constantly going to be in pain about the same thing.
So like this too will pass, sort of thing?
This too shall pass. But as soon as it does, something else is going to be there.
Life being suffering. Fuck, man. And then how to make it worthwhile despite suffering.
Because you have to understand that it's not about removing the suffering. It's about enjoying the things around the suffering that allow the suffering to be more bearable.
There's conversation with a guy talking about his wife, and he said he used to hate rainy days, but he loves his wife, and his wife loves rainy days. So to love his wife is, in a way, he now loves rainy days, because he knows, like, to have my wife in my life, that's her heaven. Even though for me it's hell, to use extreme mythical sort of language.
Yeah.
And so that's a strange part of life, man. And to like really have that click in your head, it makes me wonder what levels of suffering can people endure and still live, and still have it be worth it, and still love life, if that's even the right way to think about it. Is it limitless, I wonder?
I don't think it's limitless, because there's always a breaking point. There's always a breaking point. One of the many ancient proverbs that I've learned at the University of TikTok is there's an old proverb where this man was this old Chinese man. He was a farmer, and he bought a new horse, and he brings it home to the stable, and he puts the horse in the stable, and the horse gets out. And the next door neighbor sees that happening. He was like, "Oh man, that sucks." And the farmer was like, "You don't know. You never know. Maybe." And the next day, the horse comes back, and he comes back with a whole flock of horses. And he has a whole herd with him. And he fucking brings them into the corral, and the guy is like, fucking closes the gate. And the guy was like, and the neighbor was like, "Oh man, that was awesome. Good luck. Good luck rained upon you." And he goes, "Maybe. You never know. Let's see." And then the next day, his son goes out to feed the horses, and one of the horses wiles out and kicks a kid and breaks his leg. And the neighbor was like, "Oh man, that sucks. Like, damn, that's shitty. I'm sorry for your luck." And he goes, "Maybe." You never know. You don't know. The next day, the Imperial Guard comes through announcing that China is going to war. They need every single able-bodied young man to fight for China. They saw the kid had a broken leg. They're like, "No, you can't go to war. You stay here. Heal." And the neighbor was like, "Oh, fucking good luck. Great on you." And the farmer was like, "Maybe, you never know." Moral of the story is, don't ever take anything as a sign. Just take it as an experience.
Oh, that's fucking weird. Because the thing that comes to mind, like, there is definitely a truth in that, like an important truth inside of that story. But then, because I guess I'm not exactly sure why, maybe some contrarian fucking part of my head pops into my head the idea of, like, okay, you're boxing, right? And the guy punches you in the face, and your coach is like, "It's bad, don't get punched in the face." And you're like, "Maybe, I don't know." And they're like, "No, just don't get punched in the face. You're boxing. You want to, the goal is to not get punched in the face."
Yeah, but that's something that you have control over, your technique and your ability to avoid it. But once it's outside of your control, once you do not have any factor other than factor X, then that's when you say,
You ever hear of the book Black Swan by
Yes.
Nassim Taleb? Yeah, what a crazy concept, man. And it's so true when I start to think about it, that the most impactful, just for anyone who doesn't know, impactful parts of your life, his case is that they'll be random. The most important and impactful changes that happen in someone's life will be a random, unexpected sort of event. That could be 9/11. That could be meeting your wife at the grocery store. That could be me fucking up my leg. That could be
bro,
a million.
me fucking driving truck and being stuck in Aberdeen, Maryland for 3 days and not knowing what the fuck I'm going to do with the rest of my life because I'm a truck driver that hates his job and hates his situation. And this was after I had gotten back from Iraq and I hated myself in Iraq. And then ultimately I was able to nurture myself back to a more stable mindset. So I went from 265 pounds, former fucking combat veteran, to I was smoking weed, I was running 5 miles a day, I was working, making $300-400 a night as a bouncer in Miami. So I got out of my dark place, and then I started driving truck, and that shit slingshotted me into a dark place. I got fat again. I started hating myself. I was stressed out all the time. I was driving at a loss. I was broke. And I just randomly hit some girl up on Tinder. And 3 days later, she tells me that I should be a comedian. And then here I am. Like, it's the most random moments.
And then being the next stage of the book, which is to be anti-fragile. And I haven't looked too deeply into how he defines that concept, but the essence, I imagine, is being able to ebb and flow optimally with random changes.
That is something that I've not been able to master.
Ditto.
Is being anti-fragile.
But if you did, I guess you'd be Yoda.
I think if I smoke enough weed, I'll eventually turn green.
There you go. You at least get the squinty eyes and start talking more slowly and confusingly.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. To be fucking ebbing and flowing with chaos, with the unknown. And it's weird because there seems to be utility to making plans, right? To making plans for the future, whether it's for me, the cutoff point is around like 5-ish years. Like after that, things get so unknown that it almost becomes useless plan. That's what I've been taught, and it seems useful so far. But still, this weird fucking balance of planning, but being willing to wipe clean the slate.
Yes, Semper Gumby. So in the Marine Corps motto is Semper Fi, Semper Fidelis, which means always faithful. And something that I learned in the Marine Corps, which they always kind of play on words and shit, is they say Semper Gumby, always flexible.
Oh. Always faithful, always flexible.
Yeah.
Fuck, man. Faithful in what?
Faithful to your core. I don't know. It's a fucking brainwashed doctrination.
But there seems to be something to that, man. Something.
Okay. You got to be faithful to your team, because that's the only way you're gonna make it through combat.
The brotherhood.
The brotherhood. Even if at a heated card game you'll put a bullet in them yourself, as soon as you leave that wire, that is the most important person in your life. That is your wife. That is your child.
Damn. Before I fucked up my leg, that was my dream, joining the military. Like something about war and combat and brotherhood since I was a kid called to me. Because
we are taught that from children. We're taught that we're supposed to be warriors, and we're supposed to be, because how many G.I. Joes did you get when you were a kid?
That's a good point.
How many Ninja Turtle movies did you watch? How many fucking American Ninja movies did you watch? Everything was geared towards, hey, you're going to be a fighter. I don't know what it's like to lose a leg. I don't. But I do know that if you lost your leg fucking around on a construction site, that's got to be really traumatic. But it's a lot less traumatic than losing your leg and your best friend and maybe a couple of your fingers or an eye and a piece of your soul. Because remember how I said you were like, how do you feel about your soul, your spirit? At the bottom of my shoes. I feel that we all have energy. And, dude, once you're there and you're in that environment, even if you don't shoot at anybody, even if you don't get beat, like blown up, even if you're nothing, it's just a nasty environment. It's so toxic. Bro, there's videos of Marines dropping bricks on puppies. Do you really want to be around those people?
It's weird, man. You ever hear of Jocko?
No.
Navy SEAL has a podcast. Jocko.
Oh,
podcast.
yeah.
Yeah. That's what I want to. That was the dream, to be a SEAL. And when I hear him talk about war, and since he was a.
Does he glorify it?
He talks about it being horrible. And yet he also talks about this. Do you know the quote, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times?
Yes.
For him, he describes it as the best part of his life. And he has kids and things like that. And
that right there is trauma. That is trauma. Because you feel so much more in those moments that it's like a drug. But if the one thing that you were actually biologically put on this planet for pales in comparison to taking a life.
when you say biologically put on this planet for, you mean to make a family?
To make a family.
He has a family.
Exactly.
And even then he describes, he talks a lot about the potential, because he'll have, I don't know, a psychologist, neurologist on, and I'll ask him, like, is there such a thing as a warrior gene, evidence for it? Like a specific sort of person that they're kind of built to love battle and combat. And when he talks about that, he talks since he was a kid, ever since he knew commando was a job that was like you could do that, all he ever wanted to do was that. And he said a lot of guys in the teams also were like that. This just
innate
deep craving to
Yeah.
dive into that sort of
Yeah.
hell.
Yeah.
And he has a great TED Talk, and this opening line is "War is hell." But I was listening to another podcast by him the other day where he described, there's another quote, and that we have a lot of stories about war nowadays and conversations about it that focus on the PTSD, that focus on the horror of it, the negative side of that yin yang. But to talk about a quote that doesn't seem as popular, which is war makes you better. Not for everyone, but this was something he said, and that for him, it made him better.
But that's just anecdotal. That's an anecdotal.
Yeah.
That's an anecdotal observation, because what made him better was going through trial and tribulation. What made him better was going through those hardships. But you can recreate hardships without having to be a murderer. Because if you look at what we did in Iraq, if you look at what we did in Afghanistan, if you look at what we've done in any theater that we've been to since fucking, not even World War II, because even in World War II, we had corporations funding both sides of the war. So if you look at the reason that you're actually going to war, instead of the experience that you're going through while you're there, it's the American way.
That is weird, man. I was talking to a police officer, and he said when he first started up, why do you want to start up? The same reason they all did, to run, gun, and have fun. And to be a young man. Dude, I talk about this all the time. When I was graduating from high school, I heard all this intense political conversation, talks about civil war possibly happening. And you ever see Fight Club?
Yeah.
You know when he's on the plane in the opening, he's like, man, I just want like anything to happen, even if it's the plane crashing.
Yeah.
I want something to happen. And there was a part of me that wanted a civil war to break out just because I wanted something, this stupid idea I had about it being exciting, the adventure of war idea I had in my head.
But that's because it's been fucking dramatized and romanticized to you in movies ever since you were a child. When have you ever seen a war movie or a war show that wasn't romantic?
Few.
No. You've never seen one. I don't mean romantically in love, like in that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even Double Impact. Do you remember that one?
Mm-hmm.
It was a horrible Jean-Claude Van Damme movie where he had a twin brother.
Mm-hmm.
And they were separated at birth, and one of them turned out to be like this mafia drug runner, and the other one was a fucking cop who did ballet or some shit like that, and it was a horrible movie. What is the romantic aspect of it? Two children that were separated at birth. One of them goes the wrong path, one of them goes the weak path. They both come together and they both become really strong and tough fighters together, and they take on this mafia of non-white people, and the white people always prevail. That's the fucking crux of any movie that you watched in the 1980s or 90s. Fucking poor white guy has this horrible situation, fights against a bunch of non-white guys. Now he's the victor. Roll credits. Fucking end scene. And it's been like you watch fucking Steven Seagal, and he's on a naval warship that's getting taken over, and he's a cook. He's a chef, but in all actuality, he's a fucking Navy SEAL with Green Beret training, and he also took over Mars. Uses a butcher knife to take out the entire fucking crew of hired mercenaries. That's why you've always had this romantic idea of war, because it's what you were nurtured with through your entertainment. Because if you look at who were your heroes, they were the people you watched on TV. Who would you, if you were going to be anything for Halloween when you were a kid? Who were you going to be?
Zorro or Batman.
Two combatants that were very much romanticized.
That's a good point. That is one of the first times I sparred in MMA. I had done Muay Thai a few years ago. I thought I had a little something, thought I was pretty badass. And I just get my ass whooped like the first time I'm sparring by someone who actually knows what's up. And I just had this idea in my head, like when it's time to go, it's just fucking, see red, and then just make bodies hit the floor. And then when you just get popped so quickly in the face, and then you just, I imagine I felt a little bit like you when you had baseballs thrown at you. It's just like, I just want to not get hit and just fucking avoid it.
Exactly.
It stripped the romantic side of it. And to talk about this, again, like I said, I almost got my ass kicked the other day, but ass kicked isn't right. I probably almost got killed the other day. Crazy story, guy, metal whip, fucking spike on the end of it and shit. But the point being that
Whoa. You can't just drop that shit and roll past.
Because I talked about it on one of the other podcasts. I didn't want to, walking through a neighborhood. It was a nice neighborhood. I was visiting my nephew. We're walking and hanging out. We're sitting shooting the shit. And this guy's bicycling by, and he sees us, and he stops. And he's like, hey, what time is it? Is it past curfew? And he just starts asking like gibberish, like, curfew? What the fuck are we talking? I don't know. He's like, how old are you guys? I'm like, what? What? And he's immediately like very aggressive and irrational off the rip. And so he gets off the bike, and he's just coming towards us. I don't know, maybe my nephew said something fresh for whatever reason.
Maybe your nephew said something fresh, or your nephew said something fresh.
I don't remember. That's the weird part. It's very vague, because now my adrenaline spiked, and so, like, I'm very high and very afraid at this point. The guy has like a, bike locks, the metal wire bike locks?
Yeah.
Yeah, he has like one of those in one hand with apparently some spike or blade on the end of it, and his other hand's like in his pocket, like his jacket pocket, as he's just walking towards us, staring us down. And essentially he just says some crazy gibberish, gets like really close to us. At this point, I'm pretty frozen. Like I kind of try to defend the nephew, but I
How
feel
old
very
is your
much like
nephew at this
prey.
time?
He's like 19. So yeah, essentially, the guy was like on the edge. Like you could feel on the edge, like violence is about to happen. But I just, it got de-escalated. We were able to walk away. We get like my brother and some friends he was hanging out with. We chased the guy out of the neighborhood. But the reason I brought that up,
Why did you chase the guy out of the neighborhood? Why didn't you call the cops?
we did because they just kind of snapped when they heard what happened. Like kind of temper, where it's like, oh,
Okay, that's all right.
yeah.
Understandable.
They also called the cops. I was trying to convince them to not engage, but I was not effective at the moment. I could barely speak. And at that point,
Because that's a mental health case.
yes, that was definitely a mental health case.
That's a mental health case. Because that's the thing. In this country, we do not treat mental health issues. We do not go after treating mental health. Or like the old lady that just got shot a few days ago. She was mental health lady standing in her doorway. I think she had a knife. Cop has a gun drawn on her. Not a taser. Not a baton. Not even mace. Or pepper spray. It's not mace. Mace is low grade. They use oleoresin capsicum, which is a little different. But yeah. They have an OC spray. I've been sprayed before because I was military police.
How effective was it? Because I carry pepper spray on me, but I don't actually know. I actually let myself get sprayed. But anyway, could you
that
see
depends.
clearly, like straight?
I can see clearly now the rain is gone.
Yeah.
So when they spray you, you have to go through a fight course.
Mm-hmm.
And because I was always very vocal against the indoctrination program of the military while I was in there, and I was very much
Authority,
very anti-authority.
Mm-hmm.
My instructors fucking hated me. Hated me. Oh, I didn't get along with 90% of the people in the military. It's because I was military police.
Yeah, fair enough.
And I only chose military police because I didn't know what other jobs really existed. Like, I knew, but I didn't. I was given a list, but I
didn't know what they meant. Like,
yeah,
just gibberish and military police. Yeah, fair enough. It's kind of how I looked at my college application. But anywho,
So when I went through MP school, they sprayed me, and you have to get sprayed and then go through a fight course. I was able to make it through the fight course.
what is the fight course? Do you have to?
So first they spray you, and then you gotta spin you. They close your eyes, they spin you to disorientate, and then you have to open your eyes and find your way through the course. Which when they spin you, the first thing they do is they send someone to try to take your pistol from your holster.
Cool. Mm-hmm.
So you have to protect the holster, and then push the person away, and draw your weapon, or some shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then you run through, and you got to fight somebody with a baton, and then you got to run to a checkpoint, and then go to another checkpoint, and then it's.
So you can see enough to run.
You can see enough to, stagger.
Gotcha.
I could see enough to stagger. There was one dude that got sprayed, and it seemed like it didn't bother him.
Okay. I
But-
hear of those people.
And there was another kid that he got sprayed, and because they tell you to open your eyes. They tell you close your eyes, they spray you, then they say open your eyes. I can't prove this because it felt, but I believe Then my instructor sprayed me across the forehead, and when they told me to open my eyes, he sprayed me again. I believe that that was the case.
Did you like hear?
I felt it,
Mm-hmm.
but they weren't supposed to.
Mm.
As a matter of fact, they're not supposed to spray people with their eyes open. When you spray somebody, you're supposed to spray across their forehead, not across their eyes.
Why?
Because it can actually, the stream can cause damage.
Wouldn't you want to do not for the course, but I mean like as a police officer, if you want to?
It's going to be running down their face anyways.
Gotcha.
You don't want to inflict permanent damage.
Yeah.
That's the thing about cops. They always want to inflict the maximum amount of damage without getting in trouble.
I've heard a lot of that has to do with poor training.
It does.
So it's
It
just
really
I'm
does.
panicked and I just want to make sure I'm as safe as possible. So I just take out my gun because I don't really know.
No, it's not even, training helps, but we should have much less cops. Much less cops. We should have much more caseworkers.
Hmm.
We should have psychologists.
Oh, dude, so the cops came and they were arresting the guy, and they were asking us if we wanted to sign papers
so
to have him arrested.
he did get arrested.
Yes. They asked us if we wanted to sign papers to have him arrested. I'm asking the cop, like, okay, will he get sent to a psych ward? Because I don't want him sent to prison. I want him sent to a psych ward because a prison's not going to help him.
Yeah, they're
He's-
going to treat him like a criminal instead of like a mental health patient.
Yeah, and he's like, well, I can't disclose that. I'm not like a professional who can say whether he needs a psychiatric help or not.
But
So-
you just talk to the fucking guy.
Yeah. So,
Bro.
so I literally said, like, if I don't sign it, what happens? And he's like, well, we just let him loose right here. Like, if you can't sign it, we can't arrest him, and then we just have to drive away, and then here he is, and good luck. So obviously not. I sign it,
Fucking pigs.
and then I don't want to. I
In the
kind of
words-
like cops, but
Bro, trust me, I was a cop.
Mm-hmm.
I was a cop. I was a cop. Nobody hates cops more than cops.
weird. Why?
Because they know how fucking much douchebags they are. Cops are not just assholes to other people. They're assholes to each other too. They're fucking douchebags. They get drunk with each other and just make each other miserable.
To have a very dark view of the police force,
Dude. Okay, you want to get into it? You want to get into it? You want to get really into it? Let's get into it. Did you know that I can't remember the exact number, but I think it was in one state alone, they had 600 reported cases of sexual misconduct or assault by law enforcement officers upon their ride-alongs. 5% of them were under 14.
Right, what's a ride along? I thought ride along. Oh no, I mistook that for your partner. Like,
Yeah, somebody who rides along to see how the cops do their job. Not somebody in trouble. Not somebody.
I thought you meant fellow officers, but
Nope.
no.
Just a ride along. Just a fucking kid that wants, I want to be a cop one day. 5% under 14. 5%.
Now that I'd have to look
Six-
into because that's not good.
600. 5%. They said that there was some that were as young as 8. Look up what profession has the highest alcoholic and domestic abuse. The highest. Military and law enforcement. if you look at who wants to be a cop or who wants to join the military, it's usually people that don't have power in their own lives from a young age. People that don't have control. Why did I become an MP? I never had control when I was a kid. I thought I can be a cop. I can have control. Let's run it. Cops. If you look at Mayor Rudy Giuliani, that fucking shitbag of a human being, I wish I could wear him. I wish I could wear his skin for a week. I'm telling
Wait,
you.
like
No, like I could skin him and I would just wear him just as a fucking trophy.
not walking the shoe. Okay.
No. Wear him.
Where's
I would wear him just as a trophy.
why do you hate him so much?
That piece of shit led. Did you ever hear about the law enforcement riot of New York?
Very little. Very little. Kind of vague memory of it, but
Cops were walking down Brooklyn Bridge, arm to arm, fucking 8 abreast, throwing beer bottles at cars and flipping cars, yelling racial slurs. And Giuliani is standing on top of cars with a fucking bullhorn.
riots.
That's a riot. That's a fucking riot. That's a police riot. And he's the leader of it. And all of this because they wanted cops to have accountability. They wanted cops to be held accountable. They wanted to take away a cop's autoimmunity.
Take away the what?
Autoimmunity. Like they were automatically immune to fucking, like if they shot somebody, they weren't able to get charged. If they robbed somebody, they weren't able to get charged.
Automatic immunity. I didn't know that was curious. I want to look into that now.
I can't remember the exact word, the exact term, but yeah. I can't remember the exact fucking term, but bro, even beyond that, like, if you look at where fucking cops came from. Look at the origin of cops. It was literally a organization that was put into place to retrieve runaway slaves. That's what the police force was. That's the origin of the police force. To track down runaway slaves.
You mean in America or just in the world in general?
In America. That's who became the first cops. Texas Rangers. You know who those guys were?
Well, I've heard of them. I don't know very much about them.
Do you know who they originally were? They were a hit squad for the Texas governor to murder Native Americans.
There's a quote that I feel like is appropriate to bring up now. That the sheepdog is closer to the wolf than to the sheep. So to be an honorable sheepdog, you have to be very, very careful that you do not become a wolf.
Exactly. That is fucking exactly.
So what does that take? What does it take to be dangerous but good? To be someone who can enforce a rule but not abuse power?
You don't use a sheepdog. You develop stronger sheep. You make your people be more self-sufficient. You make your people be more self-sustainable. You make your people be more self-reliant. Because if they're self-reliant, they're self-sustainable, they're self-sufficient, then that means that they have control over the stability in their own lives. Therefore, you won't have the need for people to be out robbing people. Did you know that most criminal activity conducted in the United States is conducted by corporations? Did you know that I think it's like 70% of all financial larceny is withheld paychecks by corporations?
You're giving me a lot of things to look up after this. This is interesting and kind of upsetting, but worth looking into.
I think it's like 60 or 70% of all larceny that happens in this country is just major corporations that refuse to pay employees their final paycheck. I think that you have if you're being fired, they have to cut you your check that day. By law. By law. Most companies tell you to wait until the end of the pay period. That is larceny. They're withholding your funds. And a lot of those companies don't even pay out. A lot of those companies will hold people's last fucking checks. Even if it's the last couple of hours. Those hours, you owe me those dollars. I was here. I made you money. You give me my portion of it. People are not the problem. Corporations, persons, and this government is, for all intents and purposes, a corporation.
You say people aren't the problem, but if those things are the problem, they're made by people.
Those are persons. Individualistics.
So are you saying groups of people are the problem, but not individuals?
I'm saying individuals are the problem.
Oh, individuals. But then to solve that, as you said, from self-sufficiency, then this brings me back to the sheepdog argument. Let's say you make sheep more like a sheepdog. You make sheep stronger. I would guess that doesn't take away the problem of the sheepdog being like a wolf. It would just put that problem onto more people, meaning, okay, more people are going to have more power. So more people have to be better at handling power without becoming corrupt. They may still face the temptations that a police officer faces now, or a very powerful CEO faces. So then how to face those temptations?
I have a bad back.
Gotcha. Would you?
No, I can just stand. I'm
Okay.
good.
What does it take? Maybe to just not have as much power, or maybe to be better equipped to handle that power without becoming like, what the fuck?
It's definitely making people more equipped to be able to handle that power without getting corrupted. I think that it ultimately can be done with. I think that it can ultimately be done with ensuring that.
You could hold the mic if you want. I don't know if
Yeah.
you would prefer that. Mm-hmm.
Actually, yeah, let's do this like I'm on stage.
That's what
goddammit.
that's what I was imagining.
So, it's very much like you have to fix the wound. You can't just sew up the laceration. You actually have to treat the injury. If you want CEOs to operate in a more eco-friendly or societally friendly fashion, you have to mold people that are going towards that. You have to mold people that are in the trajectory of landing in that position to be more empathetic. You have to put more women in charge of corporations.
Why?
Because women by nature, are going to be less tyrannical than men, because they know what it's like to be on the receiving end of a tyrant.
That was cool. I like
Yeah.
Petey.
So you can either be a person that was born into the position of being the tyrant, and you were groomed to be a tyrant, because most tyrants come from tyrant parents, because the founder of Walmart is long since been dead, but the successors are still there being pieces of shit. The founders of Chick-fil-A long since been dead, but they're still fucking homophobic, uber Christian conservatives that are feeding political money and funding, taking away rights from women. Like they're funding the politicians that are trying to turn over Roe v. Wade. I always say Roe versus Wade. I don't know why, but it's Roe v. Wade.
I think V stands for versus.
No.
So.
It's Roe v. Wade is the name of the person, I believe. I think it was the state of something versus Roe v. Wade.
Gotcha. Okay. Oh, okay. Gotta watch myself now. Make sure I wouldn't say verses in those instances. But
Well, I got corrected by somebody else, but I didn't look it up, so I could be wrong too.
Gotcha.
That's why I say I don't know anything.
I appreciate that you started out the podcast with that little disclaimer, because that's a very important thing to keep in mind. Just
Yeah.
how big the realm of unknown is.
Yeah. And that's the perception of what I can see. Is that I see that I can only deduct so much, and I've seen myself being wrong so many times that I can't fathom believing that I'm just right.
Being humbled, that's useful. Okay, we have 30 minutes left, so before that ends, I want to ask you something about comedy, and I'm not exactly sure what, but I hear there's been an attack on comedy, trying to restrict it more lately, and I wonder what you think about the following thought, that the comedian is the only one who can tell the truth in the courtroom to the king, because he's below contempt, because he's the joker, the prankster, but he still taps into something true, an uncomfortable truth. I feel like that's a lot of comedy.
So, there may have been kings that very much felt like their gestures had free reign. But I'm sure that if you look up in history, if you look back, there is somewhere some gesture that lost his head over a good joke.
Oh, I bet. That's actually... Okay, so I'm taking a lot of these ideas from Jordan Peterson, psychologist, doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool cat. But anyway, when he talks...
No, from Star Talk.
Is that Neil deGrasse Tyson?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know he was on that.
Is that? I think so. Yeah.
Cool. I kind of want to watch the episode now, but moving on for a quick second. They said the realm where a comedian or a jester can't joke about that is then you're in a tyranny. And obviously that's a matter of degrees, because sometimes you're just not funny, or you really shouldn't joke about that, because it would be pretty fucked
Yeah,
up.
because I mean, I don't believe that you should make rape jokes. I don't think that rape jokes are very funny.
Mm-hmm.
But with that said,
Do you think
I know someone who does a rape joke that is fucking hilarious.
yeah, dude.
Now, when I say that you shouldn't make rape jokes, I think that
You probably wouldn't be very good.
no,
Yeah.
I shouldn't be doing rape jokes. Not unless I can formulate it in a manner that is going to be catered to the women that have experienced that. If I can make a joke about rape that women that have been raped can hear and not be affected by, then that is a well-written rape joke.
Interesting.
Now, the joke that I heard is by a comedian named Caitlin Murphy. She's very funny. She's Irish with the name Murphy, of course. And she's like, I'm painfully Irish. Like, I'm so Irish that if I go to the beach, it's over. I'm paraphrasing. I'm doing it the best way I can.
You're good.
She goes, most people go to the beach, they get sun-kissed. Oh, I got sun-kissed. Little red, little strawberry. I go to the beach, I get sun-raped. Like, I turn into a fucking lobster. I'm bright red. I'm in pain. I can't touch myself, and it hurts. But then, according to some people, depending on how I was dressed,
I can see where that's going. Yeah, that's
you
a
could
good
say
one.
I was asking for it. That's a fucking great rape joke.
And what's interesting is it still might offend some people. They still might not like it.
No. Because if it does offend someone, then it's not about whether or not you don't offend anyone. Because there are going to be people that have mental health issues or traumatic experiences that are rooted in something other than the rape. You can't control all of it. But if you know that you're stepping into that realm, if you know you're going there, you have to try to formulate it in a manner that is going to be as palatable to as many people as possible, in my humble opinion. There's a lot of comedians that will disagree. There's a lot of comedians that say, you can't tell me how to do my art. I talk about what I want to talk about. You don't silence me. That is very arrogant in my opinion. Because there's shit that offends people.
Yeah, there are times when you're just being a bully or an asshole.
You're just being a bully or an asshole. You want to be able to say what you want to say. And that's what it brings me back to the very first thing that we started talking about is that's what I don't like about a lot of people from the Northeast or a lot of Generation Xers, is that they want to be able to offend people because people were allowed to offend them. They're like, why are you being such a pussy? Why are you being such a faggot? Let me do what I do, because you're being a fucking faggot. It's like, bro, do you really have to use those words? And who the fuck am I? Are you a faggot? Do you like it in the ass? I'm like, bro, you're gaslighting me. You're gaslighting me. Telling me that I'm being soft because I want you to stop using words that can be offensive to a slew of other people. But because you don't want to be made to feel uncomfortable and restricted, you expect other people to be okay with you making people feel uncomfortable and restricted.
You lost me at the last sentence. You mind saying it one more time?
So, a lot of people, and especially like today, you're not going to cancel the anti-cancel culture people. Those are the
opposite extreme.
Yeah. Okay. So you have your cancel culture people and you have your anti-cancel culture people. So your anti-cancel culture people are the people that are like, you can't tell me what the fuck to say. I can say whatever the fuck I want.
Like literally say whatever the fuck.
Yeah. And then you're like, no, you can't. And they're like, why? Why can't I say cunt if I want to say cunt? And it's because there are a lot of people that they hear that word and it makes them feel nasty. And then you're like...
And it's also like the context. Are you with your bros and you're just shooting shit? Are you in a comedy crowd?
No, because if you're going to say it, you should be able to say it.
But don't you want to cater to the crowd? Like you were talking about earlier, a small town different from a city.
So I have a deep-rooted distrust towards white people. I really do. because I felt a lot of negative interactions with what is considered to be quote unquote white people. Like before the military, when I grew up in South Florida, I felt a lot of racism. While I was in the military, because I was hood or ghetto in their eyes, because I had fucking gold teeth and because I acted different than they did, I'd literally be called a fucking spick. I've literally been called a Chico. I've been called a fucking Mexican.
I'm familiar with that one.
By people that I'm supposed to be fucking keeping bullets out of their ass.
Would they be that harsh to each other? I feel like
Yes. Yes, but
I feel like cracker doesn't sound that bad.
It doesn't.
It doesn't.
It doesn't have that same.
It doesn't have a stab to it.
Hey, white boy. Oh,
It's
okay.
like, hey, spick. It's like,
You fucking wetback.
yeah.
Hey, he's a raft rider. His parents are fucking come on. Like, shit like that. So, I had that experience. When I'm in the car with my wife, and a white guy cussed me, fuck ass, puss ass, cracker, I'll fucking snatch that nigga's soul out his fucking throat. I'll fucking piss on his family. I'll fucking murder his children. I hope his fucking wife dies from AIDS in front of his kids.
Road rage.
Anger. It's not towards that person. It's towards the entire fucking race. Why? Why does that happen? Because of my negative experiences and interactions with a select few people from that racial group. Now, because I feel that way inside, sometimes when I'm in the comfort of my own car, around my wife, those words escape my mouth. Is that okay?
Is it okay for you to say it at all?
Yes.
I don't know.
Because I'll tell you this, my wife flips the fuck out on me. She flips the fuck out on me. You don't fucking say that. You don't say that. Do you want them to say that about you? Do you want them to say that about me?
So then how to heal. And this goes back to our psychological first aid sort of thing. It's like, if that's an unreasonable or unhealthy, if it is, way to behave, what would be the way to remedy that? Because
Check each other. Check each other. When you're walking down the street and your boy is like, yo, look at that bitch right there. Hey, homie, I'm sorry, but I'm starting to feel negative about that word because the connotation of what that means. You're reducing that woman to a lesser species societally. Because I personally believe that the life of a human being bears the exact same value as the life of a cat. A life is a life. If you're gonna fucking euthanize dogs for having extreme aggression, we euthanize humans for having extreme aggressions. If we believe that we can treat humans to remove aggressions from them, then we should treat dogs like we can give them treatment to remove aggressions from them. I think every single life is valuable. You shouldn't swat a fly just because it's in your house. You should swat a fly because it's fucking with you. If it's just in your house, leave him alone. If he keeps coming and landing on your face, fucking kill him. But that's ultimately what it boils down to, is just respect each other's boundaries, respect each other's lives. respect each other's existence.
Checking each other.
Check each other. Fucking A right.
Fuck yeah, man. Petey?
Yes.
Fuck yeah. Thank you, Petey.
Hey, thank you very much, Alex. It was an awesome experience hanging out with you, and I had fun.
Fuck yeah, ditto.
Fucking A right. Now let's
yeah,
go
man.
finish this blunt.
Hell yeah.